Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour brought to you by the Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, lots and lots of snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies, and not only that, but they do a great job now with ready-to-drink cocktails, High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, and the Pickle Bar, led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. And according to Todd, the barrel being worn now by the suit is only because of recent wagers and not because of Brewers Outlet. What?
Well, it helps him. Instead of one of those spinning signs, he just wears a Brewers Outlet barrel.
The spinning sign. That's very good. Very good. The Utah Hockey Club may have committed a social media faux pas. Did you see that?
I saw the mammoth.
Well, they weren't supposed to put it out.
Oh.
See, they had their tag has been at Utah Hockey Club, right?
Yes.
And suddenly out of nowhere yesterday in a couple of things, it was at Utah Mammoth. It was like, uh-oh.
One hand didn't know what the other hand was doing.
Take care of the little things. Big things take care of themselves.
Nobody clued in the social media department.
So they're like, no. And I think the idea for them is that they want to put it out there in time for the NHL draft. And the NHL draft this year is not a centralized situation. Like the NFL draft was at Green Bay this year. Next year it's in Pittsburgh. The NBA draft takes place in Secaucus. Major League Baseball draft, I think, also takes place in Secaucus. I think that's where the MLB offices are. And the NHL's moved around a little bit with it, but this time they're going to do it. Each team gets to have their own arena and use their own arena. And I think they wanted to announce the Mammoth then.
Someone going to ride one in.
Now that would be a story.
Yes, it would.
That would be, wow, a story. That would be something else.
And, you know, when you have your choice of anywhere in the country, why not pick Secaucus?
You know, I would like to think that being out there instead of in New York City brings with it tax breaks, but it's New Jersey. Where's the title to where the tax break is?
Closer to the big Nickelodeon mall? I don't know.
Ay. I mean, have you ever been to Secaucus?
I've been through it on my way to New York City, and I guess technically the old Brooklyn Arena is Secaucus, isn't it? The old Nets Arena.
Yeah. Well, the old Nets Arena used to be right next to the Giants Stadium.
I guess that's East Rutherford, but
That's
it's
East
right,
Rutherford.
right near Secaucus.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So that is, Secaucus. I mean,
And as a longtime Mets fan, I also know that's where WWOR is.
that's in Secaucus. That isn't it Secaucus, isn't it?
Yeah, they always said used to say Secaucus, New Jersey on their station ID.
Huh. Because there are a lot of antennas out
Yeah. Yes, there are.
there. A lot. Well, it's Utah Mammoth. Secaucus. Can't believe we brought up Secaucus. Wow. And so you're saying that one building got knocked down in these storms?
Yes.
Okay.
And it looks like right now it's minor power outages around the area. 60 here, 70 there. I guess it's a minor power outage if your power is still on, though, right?
Well, let me put it this way, okay? What's the difference between a recession and a depression? A recession is when your neighbor loses their job. A depression is when you lose yours.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, here we've had thousands of people out. Thousands lost power. I mean, it roared through here yesterday. And especially if you've ever been on what's called Whitehall, on Route 26, out of town, going toward Pine Grove Mills, all the power lines down. I mean, you want to talk about roaring through. Yikes. It was bad.
It always amazes me when something like that goes through how concentrated it is, because like I said, the north end of Sunbury, I mean, there's all kinds of trees down, and it's very clear it was windy at the newspaper office. It was just probably Midtown, but there's not the amount of limbs down. There's not it just looked like a normal thunderstorm. It did not look like there was a pile of damage at that end of town, which just I always find strange.
Yeah, no, we have roads blocked off and everything here. Now, it flickered on and off, but that's it. That's all it did. We never once lost power. But they closed all the schools here today at State College.
Oh, I'm not sure I saw that.
Yeah, six of the schools were without power.
Huh. I mean, as snow days go, if you're going to be off of school, today's a pretty good day to be off of school.
Yeah, exactly.
Bright, sunny, 65.
Exactly. It was
except if you have to clean up your own yard, I guess.
Yeah, cleaning up your. I've got tree limbs down actually from the. Not mine, from the neighbor's tree. So. All right, the House settlement is still hanging there, and college sports leaders are adamant that House settlement's roster limit issues will be resolved. Okay, well, good. It's not that difficult. I'm sorry, it's not that difficult. If you're currently a walk-on on the team, you get to stay until your time is up. And there may be some walk-ons that fall into the Ryan Barker or Dominic DeLuca category that end up on the 105 of scholarship players. Okay. I don't understand what's difficult about this. It doesn't seem that difficult an issue. They make it seem like it's a Rubik's Cube. I mean, did any of these people go to college?
I have yet to read what their issue is, other than that they have an issue.
Yeah. An athletic director of a Power 4 school told The Athletic this settlement is not going to blow up over this. Well, of course not, nor should it. It's not that hard to solve. I mean, really. I think Penn State is, 33 walk-ons? Now, is there a fear that I'm going to gobble up all the scholarships, get to 105, and have so I've got 138 guys? 138 guys, too many to manage. Can't manage that many. It's ridiculous. Plus, you want to be able to pay the scholarship players. Well, why is the SEC going to stay at 85? Why? So they can concentrate the money on 85 guys instead of spreading it out over 105. I mean, they act like everybody's stupid. Okay, this isn't complicated.
Did you see the Houston Chronicle story this morning?
I was reading the New York Times story. What's the Houston Chronicle story?
About what Texas's salaries are this year?
No, what are their salaries?
$30 to $40 million this season.
Is that going to be a combination of internal and then external NIL money?
No.
So it's just NIL money.
Just NIL money that obviously the reasoning is the clearinghouse is coming and this is a one-time thing and they're trying to spend all the money they can right now, but I just I feel like the clearinghouse isn't going to last long, and I just wonder, we're getting a house settlement, they're paying $20.5 million. I still don't see if I'm right and the clearinghouse doesn't last long, how they've stopped the money race.
Well, look, the house settlement, which is actually 3 lawsuits rolled into one, is what it is, okay? And look, just follow the rules while the rules are in place. Simple as that. But this is fraught with legal challenges. Let's start with a basic one. That's an easy one to say it's going to happen. You're going to get a Title IX challenge to this. How can you pay $16 million to football players and the women's basketball program gets $500,000? Oh, I don't know. Football program made $52 million last year. The women's basketball program lost 4.8. No. That'd be like the only thing I'd present. Like, we're done. Tell me what you think. But you're going to have a Title IX challenge. There's no question about that. You'll get Title IX. Title IX, to me, is about opportunity. Do you have the opportunity to compete just like the guys do? Yes. And then at that point, okay, now you got to start weighing what pays for what. In other words, could you exist on your own? And the next challenge is going to be to the one you pointed out. There's going to be a challenge to the clearinghouse. Well, what do you mean I can't make... What do you mean that deal is unacceptable? What does that mean? What do you mean it doesn't fit your parameters? So there'll be a challenge, a legal challenge to that. There probably will be a legal challenge by somebody on the cap of $20.5 million. Well, we didn't negotiate that we didn't bargain that. These are all things that are going to be challenged.
And I think that the clearinghouse is going to be the hardest one to get by them because if somebody's willing to pay me $20 million, well, why can that group of people say, well, I'm not worth that, I'm only worth 10?
Right, exactly.
Because darn it, I'm worth 20.
And on this show, you are. But that's okay. So back to the roster size. The 2-week deadline, which I think the 2-week deadline ends this week. She wants Claudia Wilken wants the settlement parties to consult with certain objectors on a possible solution. Any changes to the terms of the deal will need to be independent approval from the boards of the NCAA, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, and the Pac-12. Because when this started, there was a full Pac-12. So it's still part of it. The nuances between phasing in roster limits and full grandfathering of current athletes are potentially significant. A phase-in would likely increase roster limits, particularly in sports with the highest number of walk-ons, while giving athletes more time and options to prepare for full implementation. The current lack of uniformity across roster sizes means different schools and sports would be impacted differently. Grandfathering would protect current athletes in all sports from being cut due to roster limits with the length of their eligibility. To me, that's what you should do. Look, you're going to get some walk-ons like Baker Mayfield, like a Dominic DeLuca, like a Matt McGloin, okay, that are going to make a team, make a difference in the whole thing, right? I mean, Penn State's got a lot riding this season. And one of the key guys for them is Dominic DeLuca. Right? Look at Ryan Barker. Look at Ryan Barker. Okay? So it's not as if guys can't move up. But look, the vast majority of walk-ons don't play. They may get on special teams, but they don't play. The vast majority of walk-ons are tremendous practice players that bust their backs. I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of walk-ons on the Penn State team. There's some days where I feel like watching the combination of the walk-ons and the freshman scholarship players that are on scout teams, like watching them practice against a MAC team. I'm not kidding. I mean, you don't think some of the I say this with all due respect, complete respect, some of the walk-ons that Penn State has would be stars at Bucknell. They'd be stars.
Oh, I mean, going just through some of the guys were going around here that ended up walk-ons around there. I think that's quite true.
Oh, Brandon Smith out of Winfield.
Yeah.
Brandon Smith out of Winfield came in here, ended up being a starter, was indispensable. One of the smartest linebackers you've seen around here at Penn State. Made that last play of the Fiesta Bowl when Penn State put away Washington.
I was going to say Dylan Farinano. Dylan Farinano was going to Richmond before he decided to walk on up there.
Dylan Farinano. Wasn't Ryan Kaiser a walk-on here?
Yeah, Ryan. Ryan Kaiser was a walk-on.
Yeah. Tremendous player here. Yeah, made that last interception to stop Wisconsin in 2013. Kaiser was a heck of a player here.
I was just going to say, we just talked about 3 of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet in your life, too.
No question. Right? And I'm sorry, they don't cost you anything. This isn't a cost thing. What does a walk-on cost you? Okay, they're already paying for the school. All right, so let's take Tyler Holsworth. Holsey's family's paying out-of-state rates. Really?
I just saw what in-state rate was for Penn State now.
Yeah.
Good heavens. Actually, I made that joke to my brother this week. If that was the in-state when he went to Penn State, he'd have been a PSAC guy.
Yeah. Okay. So his family's paying out-of-state rates, which means he's paying out-of-state room rates. He's probably, my guess, Holsey's is probably with some other guys in an apartment off campus now. That'd be my guess. I haven't asked Tyler that. Right? And so you're not having to pay for the tuition. You're not having to pay for the room and board. You're not having to pay for the books. Okay. But you give them a locker, uniform, things like that, which you're going to give to somebody else anyway, so that doesn't cost you anything. And he works out in the morning like everybody else. He lifts weights like everybody else. You do have to pay training table. Oh, that's right, it's a buffet, so there's food usually thrown out. So that doesn't cost you anything. And a guy like Holsworth would be on the trip. Oh, wait, you're only allowed to send 74? He's one of the 74. If it's not him, it's going to be somebody else. So that doesn't cost you anything. It's not like you're creating an extra seat in the plane. And charters are done by the weight in the mile. Okay? And they're rooming on the road, but you pair up on the road, so somebody else is going to be there anyway because only 74 can go. So it doesn't cost you anything there. And you've got training table and snack the night before, training table the day of the game, whether it's breakfast or whatever it may be, and it's a buffet, and it's not going to cost you extra to have them there. As soon as somebody outlined to me what the problem is.
I did find a quote from Ward Manuel last week.
That's always educational.
and their argument is they have budgeted for these roster limits and all these kids being gone, and now it'll cause them to have to rebudget because they...
Rebudget what? I don't. What's he talking about? I just outlined what they cost you. Ward, they cost you nothing. For God's sakes, rebudget? Excuse me, you're not writing a check to doing an electronic transfer because you have a walk-on. The parents are paying for it.
We've already made budget decisions, in our case expecting to have almost 140 fewer student athletes. When it came out yesterday, I asked my staff to run the numbers about what it means and what we have to put back into the budget. It does have a financial implication.
It does not. What is he he thinks the world is stupid. Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, what's wrong with this guy? But I just outlined what they cost you. Okay, extra food? It's a buffet. You're telling me, well, we're kind of down to the last slice of bread now. Maybe we should give it to the extra walk-on. We have one more slice of bread. Or do you think their loaves of bread still up there?
I hope it's from that bakery in Ann Arbor.
Actually, it's pretty good.
I know. My brother sends us stuff from there sometimes.
I mean, it's pretty good.
It is.
Right. But 140 athletes? You mean 140 athletes that are paying their own way, Ward? 140 athletes that are getting their own rooms, Ward? 140 athletes that are buying their own books, Ward? Okay, I can see why it's a financial drain on the entire organization. Now, in other sports, let's take lacrosse. Okay? Lacrosse, I've been using football, basketball. Lacrosse has a lot of walk-ons. And they do travel. As an example. Because they want to have as many as 47. Well, the way they play specialized lacrosse, offense, defense, face-offs, and so forth, you use a lot of guys. So there may be a point there.
There's something. Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
To be said about a sale with a handshake, a service technician who really knows what he's doing. They can explain it in English what the problem is. There's nothing better than having that friend you could trust in the area. That's Sunbury Motors, where you get selection, knowledgeable salespeople, and prices that fit your budget, and more important, that friend you can trust. Welcome to Sunbury Motors, Kia, Ford, and Hyundai. You could shop other dealers and compare prices, but at Sunbury Motors, you get their lowest price promise. They research the current used vehicle market and guarantee their used car prices are the lowest. If you find a lower price, Sunbury Motors will beat it. 3 dealers all in one. See their full new and pre-owned inventory at sunburymotors.com. Pick out a vehicle you like and schedule your test drive online. Follow them on Facebook. Sunbury Motors Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
If you're suffering from spring fever, Sunbury Motors Kia has the cure.
Wanna see ya in a Kia. Sunbury Motors Kia.
The spring fever reliever is a new Kia from Sunbury Motors Kia. They make it easy to choose because there's 120 brand new Kias available. And $750 owner loyalty is back on the hottest selling Kia models, including the Made in the USA 2025 Kia Sportages and Serenos. Drive home in a 2025 Kia Sportage EX all-wheel drive with leather for under $30,000. Or how about the third row 2025 Kia Sorento S all-wheel drive? Save thousands now as low as $35,034. And of course, every new Kia comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Stop in today and check out the full Kia lineup. And together, we can be alive in 2025 at Sunbury Motors Kia on the Strip in Hummel's Wharf. Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. For details, see retailer or go to kia.com.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, great to have you with us on this Wednesday. And after how awful it was around here last night, it's turned out to be a beautiful day today. And it's great to have everybody on board. Get to Frank Bodani in just a moment here. And this half hour of the show being brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And you can always go to sunburymotors.com. Joining us now is the outstanding Frank Bodani, York Daily Record. Frank, welcome back. It is so great to have you with us.
Hey, thank you. Good afternoon, Steve. I hope you're enjoying the beautiful weather this week.
It is, and the blue-white game was Saturday. So what were your impressions of this whole thing when it was all said and done?
Well, first of all, you had to get used to, now as a member of the media, sitting outside to start the game, right, in a construction zone with that big crane hanging over everything, only fans on half the stadium, right? So we eventually retreated to the interview room, Steve. I have to admit that. It got a little windy up there.
Yeah, sure did.
But I think, the biggest thing I think everybody's looking for was the pass game, the new receivers, all that. And I think they got treated to some good stuff, especially, a little more work for the backup quarterbacks. And I think you needed to see that, and I think it was important for the coaching staff to see Ethan Grunkemeyer and Jackson Smolik work with the different wideouts. And I guess I'm coming away with the idea that, hey, there's more options there catching the football than maybe people realize. And I think that's a good thing. And I think both of the quarterbacks look promising because you need to have a backup or two ready to go because you never know what's going to happen.
I'm glad you brought up Ethan Grunkemeyer and Jackson Smolik. We've seen a little bit of Grunkemeyer in a game. Smolik didn't get an opportunity to play at all last year. James has said it is close because of the way Smolik has come on in all of this. What was your thought just watching them for 2 hours on Saturday?
I think they give. Well, on Saturday I thought different aspects I liked about them. I liked the way Jackson Smolik stood out to me a lot. The way he was able to move around and throw the ball on the run, so to speak, a little bit. Kept his eyes downfield. I think he has a lot of potential with that. Seemed to have a good feel for that. And just Ethan Grunkemeyer just, stepping back and firing the ball. And I think he looked really confident to me doing what he was supposed to do. And he only really got in one game so far. Yeah. And it was not the ideal situation. Probably, I don't know what the wind chill was against SMU in the end of that game, but that's not an easy place to be.
Right.
But I think talking with Ethan, you get the sense of the confidence that he belongs. And I think this summer, I think you get a glimpse of them on Saturday, right? But James has said it a few times, how important the summer is coming up for the pass game, for the backup quarterbacks, for the receivers. And I think you got a good glimpse of both of those guys, that they look like they can operate the offense. And I think it's going to be even better going forward because, hey, Drew Aller can be as good as anybody in the country, but one hitting his hand on somebody's helmet in the first game, you might be seeing one of those guys right away. So I think it was a good start.
When Sean Clifford was the quarterback and Drew was a true freshman, James was able to get Drew Aller into 9 games that particular season. Do you think that's a possibility that whomever is number 2, as to whomever emerges, that they get that kind of work and get their feet wet in that way? Do you think that is a possibility?
Absolutely. And I think that's front of James's mind. He realized how important it is, and you got to look at, if this team is supposed to be as good as the rankings say they will be, or that fans and media types expect them to be, well, then they should have games, some of these games, if not a lot of these games, put away before the middle of the fourth quarter. And we're talking even maybe the first 3 games. They start the season against 3 non-league, non-conference opponents that they're going to be expected to win by double digits and more. And those are opportunities, right, to get the backup or backups in as quick as possible. 3 weeks in a row, right off the bat. So you got, to me, I want to see those guys in there early in September and often. And I think going from there, then I think you see how it goes. But yes, definitely, I think possibly. And you remember, Drew's first game, right?
Yep.
That was not planned, his appearance. Right. So you never know, right? Sean was out for a series or 2, and Drew got in there and did really well his first game. And I'm interested to see how these guys react in any type of a similar situation to that.
Well, let's get up front with that group because it's taken a long time to build it to this point. Do you see potential in that offensive line, not just as protection, but the ability to knock people off the ball in the running game?
Yeah, we've been, I think, waiting for that last aspect maybe consistently for more than a decade. Mm. And that's not to take away. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, right? It's easy to say, but then you get hit with sanctions and roster. The roster isn't the way it's supposed to be. That was a hard thing to build, but they got it there. And I think you saw it last year with some of that ability to move people off the ball with running the ball and the nastiness kind of that's legal, but knock people away. Mm-hmm. And I think Cooper Cousins, here's a young guy, not that's supposed to be able to just play. Here's a young guy on the offensive line that's supposed to come in and be really good and be able to move people off the ball. So it's not just pass protection. They have more experience and depth and quality talent, I think, there than they've ever had, certainly under James Franklin. And, we'll see how it goes. You might be talking about some of that best quality since 1994, maybe.
Yeah.
95.
Yeah, and the wide receiver situation, by adding Hudson and Ross, what did you see from those two, Frank, and what did you see from maybe a couple of the younger players that could make a difference?
Well, what I like about the transfers, and I'm going to include Trevor Pena in this, who's also coming now, 3 transfer receivers, they all offer something different to me, and I think that's really valuable in the pass game. They have different skills where, Devontae Ross, smaller, maybe quicker in space, can use him in different ways with end arounds and, all kinds of things like that. But then Hudson, bigger body guy, and he showed that Saturday where he made a nice catch along the side, made that one up and got that one across the middle. I think he can stretch the field in a different way, maybe down the middle, physical guy. And then Trevor Pena is tough guy, a mix of them, not real big. But then you mentioned the young guys. So you have those 3 transfers, but then Lyric Samuel is a guy to keep an eye on, I think, because while he's so young, and everybody said, well, does he have enough physicality in his body? Is his body ready for the Big Ten? Well, I mean, he certainly looked like he could handle himself on Saturday, granted the scrimmage, but he looked good. I mean, you can't fight the instincts, right? He's got them. And I think we've heard he's made great catches in spring practice, going up and getting the ball. So and he's the bigger, taller guy. Then you have some of the guys that are also redshirt freshmen, guys coming back. And I think Kobe Howard's another true freshman like Lyric, who we've heard about all spring. And I think, he gives you a physical presence who might be ready to contribute right away. So all of a sudden, the worry goes to maybe how do you fit all these guys in?
Well, the other part that fits into all of this, Frank, is we are in an era of NIL, and if you do it right, you can get roster retention. There are so many guys that are 4-year starters on this team, or this will be their 4th year of contribution. What kind of price can you put on that experience, especially guys who have made big plays in playoffs?
Well, you can't, because Penn State, I don't know what kind of statistic you use, but who has more guys that have been there longer with the one team they're with Penn State, than any team in the country, right? So it's not even that they have experience. To me, it's that they know the system and the culture. They've been in the same program with that experience. To me, that kind of communal build of the team, that's invaluable. And how often do you get that? And I think other teams would like it. Penn State has done it. And I think you didn't always see the rewards of that maybe in the past. We've heard James focus on this. I think now you're going to see the rewards on it. They keep beating down the door on this and building the team. Finally, I think you're going to see the rewards of having, who would have thought Nick Singleton and Katron Allen would both come back for a 4th year together at that position? Who would think the whole running back room would even be back? I mean, for that matter. But, to have those 2 guys together, they're not transfers like Ohio State has, not one guy coming in. These are 2 guys that have been together, same program, and I think it's hard to even put a measure on how much that's worth in games. I think that's going to pay dividends, and I think when they get in tough spots, you have guys that can rely not just on each other, and I don't know if other teams can say that.
When you look at the defense and what you saw Saturday, give me a couple of guys that stuck out to you that bear greater watching.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to go first. Darius Dixon, true freshman. The way he handled pass coverage, but that hit that he had toward the end of the scrimmage was, in a sense, kind of unbelievable because, Steve, it was a legal hit, right?
Oh, yeah. No, it was a legal hit. What impressed me, though, is that Brown held on to the ball.
Well, that's the other part.
I'll give JB credit on that one.
Yes, that was incredible. I go back, to like when Penn State back in 2005, they played at Northwestern, and Jordan Norwood's one of his first experience, he got clobbered, like decked like that.
That was in the
game.
that was Rose Bowl by Mays.
Well, that was that one too, and he held on to the ball.
He did.
So maybe we should take more from Josiah Brown too. But
yeah.
Darius Dixon, that was an incredible hit for a cornerback, and I think he comes in with he's so highly rated and regarded, and then he goes in a scrimmage and backs it up. I think that's really positive. Babu Toure, I thought played really well. He just looks like he's playing fast compared to his experience. That's to me a really good sign. Anthony Specca, I don't think he came out at all. So he looked good. By the way, a sidelight, looks like he's going to be a very good interview for us. Very well spoken, confident, talking to us.
Yep.
But those are. And Malachi Williams, saw him in the backfield a little bit. A young guy that need to find a new depth and experience and a starter at defensive end. So I think it looks really good. And you can't get much deeper than they are at cornerback. And so that's it. But I think they're building it with safety too. So don't sleep on Penn State having one of the best secondaries in the country.
Right. Wheatley, Harris, and Washington all have the possibility with health to be somewhere on somebody's All-America team somewhere, maybe third team, maybe second, whatever. But those three guys have all that. Fans didn't get a chance to see King Mack do anything, or Zion Tracy.
No.
I mean, I'll say this about Dixon. You know what? For a kid that's 18 years old, he's built like a 22-year-old.
And I think he's almost a little under the radar because he's from California, and you're not looking at that position like you had to have Darius Dixon, because they have all the players you just mentioned. But you don't turn it away, and if he's this good, he's going to be pushing those guys. I don't care how many of them there are by mid-season, if not earlier. And that's a great thing. And we didn't even mention O'Davian Collins.
Yeah.
So I think, you have an embarrassment of riches, and you need it because you don't underplay the contributions those guys can make on special teams, the rotation aspect of it, and of course somebody gets hurt. I mean, in this day and age, they played 16 games last year, and they were not all healthy for all of them, all of those guys. So how important is that?
So
tremendous.
Going into camp, which will be the first week of August, what would be a couple of things you would look at and say, okay, if that part gets better, which it has the potential to, but what if that part gets better, this team could be great?
I think the connection between Drew Aller and his receivers, especially the new guys, the transfers, because they're going to be looked at, to me, as they're older guys. They could be your three starters even. Mm-hmm. What's that connection like with Drew? Number one. I kind of want to see how their tight end rotation shapes up. We know Luke Reynolds is really promising. They got a lot of guys in there, but, you're replacing the best tight end in some ways, most productive tight end ever at Penn State. I want to see that. And defensively, they got a couple of holes to fill, and that's one at defensive tackle, one at defensive end. What's James saying what are the players saying about those two spots? Because while they got great guys there, they need another starter at both of those. Mm-hmm. So how are the young guys performing in the background the next 3 months? What do they look like by early August? So those are my first on my list.
And that's where the transfer portal comes in. Now, Penn State lost a linebacker in the transfer portal. It's obviously trying to get one back right now. But what did James outline as priorities for him in the transfer portal?
Well, a lot of us wrote stories about it. I don't know if I've ever seen him, Steve, come out and say, we need a linebacker. We'd like to get him through the transfer portal. So if anybody's out there that wants to sign up, he was pretty straightforward on Saturday.
Yeah.
And immediately, it sounds like they have a couple of guys that are visiting of interest, and one of them is Babu Toure's older brother. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge thing, having two linebackers like they have visiting that are such known commodities. I think they're going to get one of them at least. So that's your big starting point. I don't know about defensive end and defensive tackle, but it looks like they're going to cash in at linebacker, and you can't have enough. I mean, this is a huge season, right, Steve? I mean, how much more expectations has there been for a Penn State season than this one right now?
Well, look, you can't have back Drew Aller, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, Khalil Dinkins, Drew Shelton, Venga Ioane, Nick Dawkins, Zane Durant, Denai Dennis Sutton, Zakiya Wheatley, Elliott Washington, A.J. Harris, and not have expectations. I mean, there'd be people aching to have those people back.
Well, and it's also how they ended last year. They won. They went to the playoffs. They won 2 games. People are still talking about how they're a play away maybe from winning that, going to the national title. They're so close. Then they bring everybody back. I think fans believe maybe more now that they can do it. So, not just talk, right?
Yeah. Any thoughts on Jim Knowles? I mean, you're not going to get much out of Saturday, but any thoughts on Jim Knowles?
Well, I mean, they're still saying that he's a defensive genius, so I'm going with that. Even if he doesn't apparently doesn't say much at practice, right?
He does not. He does not.
We didn't get to talk to him after the game. I didn't get a chance to speak with him after the game on Saturday. So we're going to wait a little while. But, more than maybe any hire they had, to me it doesn't matter that he hasn't said much, because he has like the best resume and experience of pretty much any coach James has hired. So that's what it is. But I'm thinking there's no reason to believe you're not going to get a great effort there. And if he tweaks it the way it looks from the past, then so be it. I think they have it just seems like they have such a good coordinator situation right now, a dynamic one, that you got to have faith in that. I think anybody who in the country wouldn't want to have that combination right now? And you couldn't always say that. I mean, that's hard to say, so you got it.
Well, when Jim talks at practice, everybody looks up, goes, all right. But I guess the key for him is all the feedback they get in meetings. And they said, and I was talking to Dominic DeLuca, and he looks at me, he says, I love this guy. Okay. Hey, pretty good endorsement for me. Frank?
Yeah.
Frank, always a pleasure to have you on. Just love talking with you and the insight. I appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. Love it too, man. I hope you have a great rest of this week. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. Frank Bodani, York Daily Record, this half hour, brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Elm's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.